Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Yoon, and today's video is an April wrap up, aka what I read in April. I read 4 books. One was they were all physical, but one was part of a book exchange, so that is now given away to that friend, and I only have 3 with me right now. So let's start off with what I believe I read first. I reread Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Lynn, and yes, this might come off as a bit of a surprise because as I don't think I've ever brought it back up after my reading vlog, but while I had a pretty high opinion and thoughts towards the book after my first read, after that read, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't like a lot of aspects about it, or I found a lot of things shot like plot holes or things that just didn't make sense and things like that that I personally wasn't a big fan of. So since then my rating has gone much lower, and I guess I'll share some of it with you, the most that I can remember. But I reread this because if you've seen my reading vlog, my latest reading vlog I believe, I was rereading this for a friend because I wanted to hear their thoughts, and you know, maybe they might have a completely different opinion, maybe they'll love the book, in which case I would really still want to hear what they have to say about it and things like that. But essentially I think I would have to rate this a 2.5 to a 3 now, because for me the pacing of the book is really slow. If you've caught up on it, I think you can tell that I'm not a big fan of slow paced books. It just does not, I have a really short and bad attention span nowadays, so I cannot stay focused if the plot is slow and if I'm not enjoying the book. I have yet to find a slow-paced book in which I liked it, and so I was okay with the pace. I feel like there was one book that was the case, but I can't remember what book that was. But so yeah, slow-paced book. It just took me forever to reread it, and I am admittedly not the biggest fan of the main character. I do really I liked it then, and I still like it now, how emotionally resilient and I guess some cases like how rational she can be, but other times, most of the time, it just did not work for me because one, the biggest issue I had, not really the biggest issue, but a big realization that I had was like, this girl has been socially isolated for her entire life. The only people she talks to are people in a higher quote-unquote position than her, like her mom or like her tutor slash caretaker. She's had no interactions with society or people her own age, and I was just like, there's just no way this girl was so well adjusted to society the minute she came in. Especially like my friend started reading it and she's like, there's no way she wasn't off-put by interacting with a guy. And at first I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But maybe I'm also like, maybe because she hasn't had any interaction with a guy, there's just no way for her to differentiate like treatment between a guy and a girl, or like, you know, other people. But I was just like, there's no way this girl can be so well socially adjusted without any quirks. Like, she has 0 quirks. Like, I was like, how does she not at least talk to herself? She has nobody her own, she has had nobody her own age. Everybody else was like a caretaker or just somebody taking care of her, and even then her mom was like emotionally neglectful. So I was like, there's no way this girl is so well socially adjusted with a life like such an isolated life like that. But yeah, you know, that was the case I had. Again, another big issue I had was I still, once again, could not figure out why everybody liked each other. Like, the prince and her definitely had more of like an understandable chemistry, but oh my gosh, the general and her, it made even less sense this time than it did the first time, because it really seemed like it was insta love for the general and her. Like, barely any interactions. If they had interactions, it was just not the moment for romance to develop. So it just makes zero sense why he liked her, and then her reason also didn't make sense for it to develop the way it did, I feel, because it was definitely a lot more of a physical attraction than like after physical attraction, then there's like getting to know each other and then liking the person and stuff like that. So I was just like, the romance development was not it in this case, and things like that. And I think another thing was, like, it had such a big build up to this one plot moment, but then that plot moment was dealt with so quickly, it was really disappointing. So this book overall was just not a fit for me, but you know, I am curious to see what my friend says and to hear her thoughts. The second book that I read, I think, was The Red Palace, because I read that one. I read this right after the other. And this one, once again, 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. And this time I did try reading the mystery a bit more carefully, because the last time I was like super into the romance. And I will say, as much as I still love the romance, I do still see a bit more like plot armor romance. Like, it happens because of this, or like because for the sake of the romance plot, but there still is a very, like, this still has the best built up romance that I've read of all the books, in which case I can like see them falling for each other, starting to like each other, like why, and just like all the things. It was just still a really cute and really, in my opinion, pretty well developed romance. And the mystery, I think, was also, it's still a pretty good mystery. And I just, when I was rereading it, I realized just how more kind of unnerving the whole book aesthetic vibes were, because of like the court politics and just her position as an illegitimate daughter but also a palace nurse, and the secrets she has to keep, her being blackmailed, and just a lot of things like that made the vibes a lot more unnerving than I remembered. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, I still highly recommend this book if you like mystery, if you like court politics, if you like historical fantasy, if you like romance. And yeah, she's coming out, her next book is coming out next year, and I cannot wait. Like, I cannot wait. But yeah, June Hur, The Red Palace. Hey guys, sorry for whispering a little bit quieter, but somebody is sleeping, and I just wanted to mention one thing that I forgot to for The Red Palace, and that's one aspect that I actually found a lot more fun and appreciated more was when she mentions Temo, which is a birth dream that is kind of like a tradition of sorts in Korea, in which the mom or family member of the mom will have a dream that's symbolic in a way and signifies normally sometimes what gender the baby will be, what their destiny is, and like what their personality will be through like either color, animal, or object that symbolizes a child, and like other characteristics and symbols within the dream. And I learned that in a class, and when I first read The Red Palace, I actually wasn't super knowledgeable or even aware of the Temong scene in the book, but after taking that class and rereading it, I like really realized more of the significance of it and the meaning, and like the author's delivery of our main character. So I really found that scene really neat. It shows a really a long-lasting tradition started from, you know, ancient Korea, and it was really big then, so I really loved her incorporation of that in the story. and the dream itself was really cool. And if you have knowledge of Tamil, you can kind of make your own inference, I suppose, of the main character Yoon. So it was really fun and really interesting reading about that scene. And yeah, that's just the thing I wanted to mention. And yeah, let's get back to the rest of the video. And then the next book I read was XOXO by Axie Oh. That one, I think I rated it either a 3.5 or a 4. And there were like things I wasn't super into, but I did have a fun time reading the book. After I felt it, after I read it, I was like in good vibes. So I was like, you know, even if like some things didn't make sense or things like that, I still had a fun time reading it. So, you know. And so XOXO is essentially a K-drama / K-pop story where Jenny, our main character, she has this unforgettable night with this guy who she later figures out is like a really big K-pop idol, and then she thinks that's like over. It was just this one night summer romance, but then she finds out that her mom has to go to Korea, and she decides to go with her and like finish her schooling in like a Korean musical academy, music and arts academy, where she once again crosses paths with that idol she met that one night. And you know, it's very cute. It was very, if you are a fan of K-pop / K-drama, I think you will enjoy the plot. For me, I had a few things I was kind of disappointed about, because for one reason, I felt like the unforgettable night wasn't as unforgettable as I was personally expecting, because it's a cute meet cute, but it just wasn't unforgettable level for me. And yeah, so I thought that was a little bit disappointing. And then what else? Oh, there was like this one character, 2 characters that had me so stressed, and it was for nothing because they didn't even do anything to the plot, and I was so confused as to why they ended up creating, like, maybe it was just me, but like why they ended up creating so much tension or like potential stress, and like as if they were being used to build up to the conflict, because in the end nothing, like they weren't related in any way to like the climax of the story. And just, I don't know what happened to them after that, and I was like, why? I just could not understand, because like one girl was like a mean girl, and she was shown as a mean girl since she first appeared to like before the climax, so I thought she would have something to do with the climax, but she had nothing to do with the climax. And then I don't even know what happened to her after the book, so I was very confused by all this focus on her. And then it turns out to be like a weird confused downward curve of like, oh my gosh, she's gonna do this, oh, I guess she wasn't even related to it, like that kind of weird confused realization. But yeah, so, and I feel like, I don't know, for me also, I just wasn't into the romance between the two. I was actually more invested in Sun, because the way he was described was a lot more to my type, like my taste, than all the other guys. But also, I was also more interested in Sori and Nathaniel's whole story. So on that note, I am very excited for ASAP, the spin-off sequel, I suppose. And because first of all, you know, Sori and Nathaniel. Second, Sun will be playing a larger role, so I am there for Sun. But yeah, so that is what I thought of XOXO, and I am looking forward to ASAP. And then the next and final book that I read, or reread in this case, XOXO, was actually the only book that wasn't a reread. It was the only new book that I read. And it is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie Oh. I actually was like wanting to read it in Portuguese, but the library didn't have it. just to like refresh on it. But then like I found like an excerpt and all of that, and I was reading it and I was like, man, you know, I could really just read this in English. Like, I'm feeling the vibes. The vibes are there. Let me just reread it in English. So I did, and it was still very cute. I found it so cute. It really is Spirit Away vibes, which I found crazier the second time I read it. I don't know why. I still love Dai and Mickey. Their story is so cute. It's so emotional. I don't think I'll ever get over Dai and Mickey's whole story. It's just so cute. So cute. And Shin is still a very cool character. Love him. Him and Mina, super cute. You know, super cute story overall. And yeah, love it. Reread. I highly recommend this if you're looking for a light and easy to get into fantasy. If you like retellings, and especially like folktale / mythological retellings, this is a Korean folktale retelling. And yeah, if you like Spirit Away, yes, this book is for you. And that is it for what I read this month. Once again, only 4 books, but you know, I am really worried I won't be able to read any books in May just because of how busy it is. I think I'll just be able to read 1 book because I'm doing an exchange with a friend and we decided to exchange in May. So other than that book, I have no idea if the other exchange I'm doing with another friend is going to work out in May or not. I might have to tell, like, I'm so sorry. It's just so busy that I don't think I can do it this month. We'll honestly have to see. But yeah, that is what I read in April. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye.